Hey everyone, this is Dominic here, and I'm bringing you another battle report. I got 9th Age version 1.3. This is 5,000 points of Ogre Cons versus Vampire Covenant. We played in circle deployment with the secondary as capture the flags. Ogres picked being the attacker for us. So we started off deploying one-on-one and then eventually just got to the point where Ogres dropped the rest and took first turn. So here's a picture of deployment. So on my side, I've got a unit of Vampire Knights. There are 6 of them, full command. Then they've got my Altar of Undeath. Right here, I've got a Varkolak. Charles up here, he's a Fell Wraith. And then we got a Bat Swarm, some zombies. Then we got a necromancer on the corpse cart. And then over here, we've got a unit of 5 Vampire Knights. There's a better picture. Also in there is my army general. He's a vampire count, brotherhood upgrade. Another bat swarm. Here I've got a Banshee. I actually forgot the model, so it's a dwarf stand-in for the game. We got another unit of zombies up here with another unit of bat swarm, zombies, and finally we've got some wraiths. On his side, we've got a unit of tribesmen up here with Iron Fists, a giant. Then we've got a unit of bombardiers, a unit of bruisers with a shaman. We've got some scouting scrappers, a unit of saber-tooth tigers. What are they called? Yeah, sure. Here we got another unit of bruisers right beside that. And here's the Great Khan General and the Khan BSB. Then we've got another unit of bombardiers, another unit of tribesmen with iron fists, and a giant over here. Elsewhere, he also has a unit of scrapper trappers up here, scouting as well. So that's kind of a far out of the battlefield. So he took turn 1, he moved up here, and the Varkolak on my side also decided to vanguard. So here's kind of a picture of some movement around. There weren't any charges turn 1. So he's just kind of moving up some of the units, getting a little bit closer. Yeah, there's my vanguard. Everything else is just kind of moving up into position. There wasn't really too much turn 1. Kind of just shuffled around a little bit. Into magic, turn 1. He rolled a 4 and a 1. And he tried to cast a 2-level pyroclastic flow on the wraiths. Caused 2 wounds for that, which I got pretty lucky there. And then into shooting, he also shot at the wraiths with both unit of trappers as well as one of the unit of bombardiers. You can see there are only a few left. I actually believe he had possibly he had that down to 5. And that's pretty much it he did for shooting. He also caused a wound here on the bat swarms. That's not very much for turn 1. My turn 1, I decided I'm going to charge the wraiths because they're already pretty hurt. He sounded shot, and I lost 2 more. The Varkolak over here also declared a charge against these tribesmen. They failed that charge, and everything else kind of moves up into position, just getting a little bit. These guys face this flank, those guys are going up. The Vampire Knights on the other side are just going up a little bit. In my magic phase, I rolled a what did I get? I got a 4 and a 2, and the ogre's channeled. I cast Forbidden Knowledge on myself, and he dispelled it. I cast Spectral Blades on the Wraith, and that went off. And then I also tried to cast Evocation, and he dispelled that as well. There was no shooting because I was way out of range. So straight into combat, the Wraiths crushed the... well, they didn't crush. They killed 1, I think. And then they fled, and I didn't catch them, but it puts them right in front of his both units here. But it also opens me up to a charge here, as well as on the flanks from both the giants on both sides, as well as the bombardiers on both sides. So they're in a terrible spot right now. But that is my turn 1. So into Ogre's turn 2, he declares a charge with the tigers here, as well as this giant charged, and this giant charged as well. This one failed. Everything else decided to move up. That was pretty much it for charges. Yeah, so just a picture of the failed charge there. And because of these guys, they did rally as well, but just because of their positioning, they've held up both of these units pretty well, just been in a terrible spot. These guys here are just kind of hanging back. These guys decided to reform and face this side because the knights are coming on that flank as well as the Varkolak. Everything else just moved up to get into closer range for shooting. What do we got here? I think in his magic phase, he's got a 4-3, and he cast Scorching Salvo. I dispelled that, and then he did a 2-level Pyroclastic Flow on the knights. Did a bunch of hits, but after armor saves, I only lost 1 knight completely. I think I maybe even only suffered 1 wound. And then in the shooting phase, the brotherhood, the bombardiers in the center that are back over here, and the unit that's, let's see here, over here, they all shot at that same unit of knights and caused another wound. That was it. So really lucky on my part, only losing 1 entire knight. Into the combat phase, the wraiths got wiped out by the giant, and the giant reforms this way, but I did manage to put a single wound on him, on the giant, because he failed with the close combat attacks, but the stomps killed him and then crumbles and whatnot. So into my turn 2, the bat swarm that was wounded earlier decided to charge against the bombardiers. I peeled off another couple wounds, but it's still alive. And then here the knights charged the giant. Over here, both the bat swarm and the zombies charged the trappers. He stand and shot at the zombies, caused 3 wounds, it looks like. Over here, I didn't declare any charges. I just moved up pretty aggressively with the Varkolak. Said he could charge in here, but he couldn't charge around. He might be able to charge the bats, but after this happens, I don't think he's going to want to really get into that center too much, especially with these knights being able to flank him over here. In my magic phase, I got a 3 and a 2. We both channel. I did an evocation on the knights in the center. He dispelled that. And then I got spectral blades on the knights as well. I tried to cast the Dead Arise, and that failed. In the shooting phase, though, the Banshee moved up here and screamed at the bombardiers, causing 4 wounds. They passed their panic check, though. So into the combat phase. So what ended up happening is the knights killed the giant outright. They overran into the bombardiers over here, killed them outright, and then reformed to face. This guy, actually I don't think I killed the bombardiers quite outright. I think one was left alive and it ran away because of the positioning. It ran away off in this direction and went into the flank of the tribesmen over here. This is actually a picture of the next of Andre's turn. So right into that, he just want to see if I've got a picture here. Ah, yes. So over here, I've wiped out the scrapper trappers and pursued, overran in this direction. The bats actually went into this unit. Yeah, so in his turn, he charged the bruisers into the flank of this bat, as well as I believe he did some other charge here. No, it was just that one. Everything else just kind of moved into spot, tried to get a little bit better positioning away from that whole lot of hurt. In his magic phase, he got a 2 and a 3, nobody channeled. He did a Scorching Salvo, which I dispelled, and then he tried to cast 1 dice, cast the ring, and didn't get that either. So into the shooting, these scrappers here fire at the knights, didn't cause any wounds. The bombardiers fire the knights, and they caused 1 wound. That's pretty much it for that, though. In combat, these guys easily wipe out this bat. As well as over here, there was bats. I forgot to take a picture of it, but the bats overran from the scrappers into there. The tribesmen wiped them out. So that is it for Ogre's turn 3. Into VC turn 3. The Varkolak decides to charge the tribesmen here. see if I get a better picture of that. These knights charge these scrappers that were beside them. The bats, one of the bat swarms charges the flank of them, and Charles is going in. He stand and shot at him, caused 1 wound there. Elsewhere, I also am missing some pictures here, sorry guys. But the zombies on the other flank decided to charge into the tribesmen as well. Decided may as well try and peel a few less wounds. If he's got less impact hits, less charge, I might be able to stick around for a little bit longer than him charging in and wiping me out in 1 turn. So that's kind of what I was thinking there. Into magic phase, I rolled a 5 and a 4, and I also channeled. I cast Touch of the Reaper on the Shaman and managed to get 2 wounds on him. I got Spectral Blades off on the Knights again. I tried to cast Evocation on these Knights, but he dispelled that. And then I cast the Deader Eyes. As you see, there's a couple zombies right here. I rolled really low for the 3d6, which was fine with me, because all I really wanted to do was make sure that the giant couldn't charge here if things went bad here, if I decided that I wanted to stay and face him and take the charge, or what I wanted to do. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do there. So yeah, I cast Deader Eyes, zombies up in the center. In the moving phase, I totally forgot that the Banshee here moved through the giant. Didn't cause any damage, but now I'm right here to scream at him. And I believe I actually screamed, I caused 2 wounds on the giant for a scream in the shooting phase. So in the combat, the tribesmen, the bombardiers here, they kill the bat swarm. Charles completely whiffs, and he's getting the axe this time. So he crumbled, died. These guys turned to face the Banshee here. On the other side where over here, I guess, the scrappers got wiped out. I overran into the tigers. I'm missing some pictures here. The Varkolak fight goes... I cause, I think, 2 or 3 wounds to him there. He does a wound back. I think I lost... No, I won by 1. Vampiric, I made the Vampiric roll, so I'm back to full health again. The tribesmen do a lot of work to the zombies on the far flank there. They're still alive, but there's not very many left. And that's pretty much it for my turn. So we go into Ogre's turn 4. So the giant here charges the zombies. These guys decide to charge the zombies, and this guy charges the Banshee that's here as well. These guys they turn to face this knights over here, is kind of what happened. And he also charged the Great Khan, or the Khan, the BSB, into the flank of this Varkolak. So he's trying to hope to do a little bit over here, and then he reformed to face this direction as well. So into the magic phase, wasn't really too terribly much. He rolled a 5 and a 1. He cast a bubble flaming swords, which isn't going to affect too much. That was it for magic. Shooting, there was nothing because he was in combat. Into the combat, the zombies versus the tribesmen, on the far flank over here. The zombies get wiped out. The Banshee gets wiped out. These zombies, the summoned zombies, get wiped out. Over here, I wipe out the tigers, and I pivot on the spot to face over here. This is kind of what I was debating on, whether to pivot on the spot to face these guys on the flank and try and take them out, but I figured there's enough wounds there that they're going to be steadfast, so I kind of thought, if I can make this charge over here, and it's not super long, but not nearly as reliable as auto-making it, I'm going to be in a good spot to kill out the remaining tribesmen, and then the Varkolak can attack the bruiser, the Great Khan, or the Khan BSB, I guess, and maybe even positioning of things, even if I don't wipe them out, which I'm pretty sure I will. He'll flee in this direction, and maybe I'll be able to clip him. Is kind of what I was thinking, but yeah, so that's where I went here. So yeah, into my turn. This is kind of just what the table's looking like right now, as you can see. These knights are still just kind of hanging out on the flank. The Altar of Undeath has been hanging out, just waiting for turn 5, turn 6 to come in and do some damage. So, again, I missed some pictures here, but in my turn, these knights do charge the tribesmen. Other charges, there aren't really anything else that really happens for charges. These guys are just kind of moving up. These guys are kind of moving up. These guys are actually hanging back a little bit because now that he's got some damage for magic as well as shooting that could potentially wipe out my necromancer, and that would be really unfortunate. In my magic phase, it wasn't really effective. I rolled a 2 and a 1, and I also... oh no, I didn't channel. So I used all 3 dice. I cast Touch of the Reaper again on the shaman, hoping to wipe him out. He used his Scroll of Shielding. I did cause 2 wounds to him, but he saved one of them. So the shaman is still alive, but he's got 1 wound left. In combat, here's kind of one that's weird because I'm missing the picture. So what happens here is I wipe out the tribesmen, and the Varkolak goes to town. He actually does 3 wounds to the Khan BSB. He runs away in this kind of a direction, and I can pursue, but I can get through that spot. I don't hit my unit, and I don't hit them. Just sort of positioning things, we decided that I caught him because I rolled higher, but the Varkolak kind of stops right here because I came too close, in my opinion, to the bat swarm. You know, you're allowed to come within half an inch, but I was way too close for that. So I just ended up stopping here. So what the knights decided to do is, instead of overrun, because I could have overran and got out of the way over here, but it puts me in a bad position because then he's going to reform, and then I'm going to have to reform and try and get out of his way. I'm just not going to do it. So I decided I'm just going to pivot on the spot to face the oncoming mass of ogres and take it. So that's exactly what happens. Is in his turn, turn 5, the ogres charge in here. Elsewhere, nothing is really happening too much. He's moving up a little bit, but beyond that, he's just kind of hanging back to do some shooting and do some magic. In the magic phase, he gets a 4 and a 2, nobody channeled. He cast a Pyrocaustic Flow versus the Varkolak, and I think it was 2d6 level, rolled really high, and wipes out the Varkolak. And then he also cast the Ring against the altar, and caused 1 wound to that. In the shooting, he shot at the zombies, killed 2, which is pretty negligible. In combat here, so my guy has to issue a challenge. His Great Khan accepts. So general on general, what ends up happening is I cause a wound to him, and I've got the Mantle of Night and the bluffer's helm. So he's hitting me on 3s, but he's getting no strength bonus for his grey weapon. So he's only strength 5. I'm tough 5, and then he's got a reroll successful to wound rolls against me as well. So right here he ends up doing no damage to me after my saves, but I've done a wound to him. I do a number of wounds to the unit, but it's not nearly enough. There's a lot of ogres there, and then he just wipes out the entire unit. Not quite. What he does is he kills off a few, and the crumble kills the rest of the unit plus puts a wound on the general, is what ended up happening. But they're sticking around, and I'm on the losing end of that. This is kind of the rest of his movements here, just kind of jockeying around for position. The Varkolak dead in the magic phase, and then as you see, he wiped out the rest through crumble. So what it is, though, it's coming up on my turn 5. So in my turn 5, these guys charge in, this guy charges in, and the bats also charge in. I did the damage aura, so I did a little bit of wounds. I think I did 2 wounds to them, nothing too big. But this charge coming in here is really going to hurt, and this charge is going to hurt as well. So there's that charge. I don't know if I have another picture here. Yeah, I did a really bad job of taking pictures by turn 5. So in the magic phase, I did Touch of the Reaper again. I rolled a 1 and a 1, and I channeled once, so I got Touch of the Reaper off, killed the shaman. There was no shooting phase, into the combat phase. So what ended up happening here is my general causes another wound to his general, and then his general hits me back, and I fail both my armor saves, so I die. This unit combined with the Altar of Undeath, go to town on these guys. I do 18 total wounds, and I think there's like 2 guys left with maybe 1 or 2 wounds kind of thing on them already. So my general dies. So at the end of the phase, everybody's going to take crumble tests, which is, I didn't suffer really anything. I think he suffered 1, and some zombies over there suffered a few wounds. But what ended up happening is he fled. Center to center was here, kind of to there, positioning of his guys, because there's only 2 left. So he flees in this direction. And I decided I'm going to chase with the altar. When it puts me up right in front of this giant, is what happens. So I do catch these guys, but the altar's way up here. And I tested the restrain pursuit with these guys, and I failed it. So now these guys are in a really terrible position, because these guys got a flank on them. And that's exactly what happened over here. In his turn 6, the giant charges the altar. These guys ended up charging the knights. They caused a bunch of wound crumble. I actually passed my leadership check to reform to face him, so I've got 1 less on my turn. The giant kind of whiffs here. He does a damage, so I lose my close combat attacks next turn, but it's my turn 6, and I'm going to do d6 strength 6 to him as well as to the unit right there. So I'm thinking, okay, you didn't kill him. I've got 3 wounds left. Like, you really needed to kill him before that happens, and I'm kind of being a little cocky about it. And then we go, also in his turn, I don't have a picture of, the tribesmen over here, as well as the bombardiers that were over here, both charge the zombies. This is a picture of my charge phase. So he wiped out all but 4 of these zombies, and there was, I think that zombie unit was just about full health. It had suffered some from crumble tests, but didn't quite wipe it out. So there's 4 left, and then in my turn I'm kind of thinking, like if I can get these guys, because these are scoring for secondary, and right now it's tied, but if he kills this unit, he gets a secondary. If I kill this unit, I get the secondary. So as long as these guys are alive, and these guys die, right now the game is really close points-wise, so I can get that point swing. But if he doesn't, if he kills them, and at the very least, you know, it's really, really close at this point in the game. So I'm thinking, you know what, risk reward. I'll charge in the necromancer into the flank. Hopefully, maybe some combat res will do something, or something will happen. What ends up happening in the magic phase, I get off pretty decent phase actually, but I am forgetting here. Let's just backtrack a bit. So the damage aura goes off. I cause like 2 or 3 wounds to this unit. And I'm thinking, alright, here you go. I gotta do 2 more wounds. He's got 4 on him. The giant's got 4 wounds on him at this point. I only gotta do 2 wounds. And I'm thinking, he's so dead. D6, rolls a 1. Okay. Wounds, rolls a 1. Damn it. Like, and also I don't get to attack in this magic, or this combat phase, because of that's what the giant rolled for attacks. So now the altar's probably just completely woofed. Like, it's done. Into the magic phase, I think I got decent magic dice. Yeah, 4 and a 3, and I also channeled. And I did, the only spell I really had was evocation on these guys. And I bumped them up, as you can see. I raised 18 back. He's just thinking, fuck, like, they were so close, and now he's not going to be able to wipe out that entire unit at the very least. So that's a pretty big bonus for me. Into the combat phase, what ends up happening over here is he whiffs terribly. I kill off this last guy over here. He's only got 1 wound left on him. So I do 1 wound to him. Static combat res plus charge and flank, whatever. He runs, but both of these units pursue and don't catch. So what happened over here at the giant? So again, he's like, alright, this thing's going down. He's only got to do, technically, I think 2 wounds to the altar, and then the last one will crumble, so it's totally fine. What happens here is he makes me pass an initiative test, which I fail, and then I suffer 2d6 wounds, and he rolls snake eyes. Snake eyes for wounds, and then, just to add insult to injury, I save both of them. So, yeah, here's a picture kind of the end of the game. Didn't get him over here. Elsewhere over on this side, the these knights did get wiped out, so they're dead. But the altar's still alive, and that's kind of where things ended off at the end of the game. So at the end, we calculated the points. It was literally as close as a game as I've ever seen. 77.13% to 77.03% or something like that. Like, it was hardly any point difference at the end of the day. Nobody got secondary. We were tied for secondary, so it was as close to a draw as one can possibly really get. Afterwards, we kind of talked about MVP and sort of the loser of the game. So for the ogres, Andre decided that the scrappers in the center there kind of won the MVP. Everything else was kind of just did what it's supposed to do, but the scrappers kind of threw a wrench into my plans, for his opinion, I guess, and just causing a lot of damage for shooting. So they did good, I guess. Not spectacular, but they did better than everything else. Was pretty average. The worst, he said, would probably go to the saber tusks. They didn't really do anything, and they just kind of got in the way, and they also allowed me to wrap around his flank a little bit. So, for myself, I would definitely say the center unit of knights with my vampire was the MVP of the game. They wiped out a giant. They wiped out a unit of bombardiers, a unit of scrappers, a unit of saber tusks, a unit of tribesmen, and then also did quite a bit of work on the bigger unit of bruisers. Although they got wiped out by them, they still did quite a bit of damage and allowed me to get a good charge off on them. As well as the vampire count holding up his great con right there. I think he does D3 multiple wounds as well, or something like that. So I held. Oh no, he didn't. It was poison attacks and lethal strike and all sorts of bad things for my knight unit there. So I did manage to hold him up for like 2 rounds of combat before I failed my armor save. The worst thing of the war for the game definitely goes to Charles, and he's got to get dropped. He's charged in and did absolutely no wounds, where against ogres he should be doing the most damage. He's got the beast bane halberd, so every wound is multiplied into 2, and it wasn't very effective. So I think that is probably the last game we'll see Charles out on the field. But thanks for watching the battle report. Absolutely leave comments for me to improve the videos. Thanks.